What is up, guys? Zan from Playbook.gg, and we are back with our Madden 20 wish list, episode number 2. This one, very near and dear to my heart, why the screen game has to be fixed and actually work in Madden 20. Before we dive into this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the great tutorials that we've got headed your way here on the Playbook.gg YouTube channel. Okay, guys, so welcome back. Now, as always, I'm flanked by my man, Antcap. Antcap, what's going on?
I'm doing great, Zan. Thanks for asking. Excited to talk about this screen game and something that we want to discuss how we can get more balance in Madden 20 by actually making screens work.
So what we're going to do in this video is we're just going to kind of call a variety of different screen passes in the game. We're going to talk about, all in all, why the screen game is, I'm not going to mince my words, it's atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious. It needs to be fixed. It has to be fixed. Now, again, guys, this isn't just intended for me to be bashing the product. It's not like that. This comes from a place of passion. You know, I want to see a balanced video game. That's all this is about.
Absolutely. And this is something that, is dear to me as well. And I feel like the biggest thing that we want out of the game is to be able to have the proper counters to what's going on in either the previous Madden or just Madden meta in general. And what you're going to see on my end is that I'm blitzing everybody here. 7-man blitz. The only person I'm not going to be blitzing is basically the outer secondary. And what you're going to see on these calls that he's going to do is that it does not make you pay for blitzing. And you're going to get auto sniffs left and right, depending on what players you use, that are going to stop their blitz midway and attack the player that you're throwing. So Zan's just going to go back and forth and kind of do different things when it comes to different screens. And you're going to see that people are going to do their best to kind of auto sniff that they know that the screen is coming from a programming standpoint.
So I want to go ahead and talk about the first two plays because I'm actually going to pause briefly and talk about it because I'm sure you guys that are watching are like, well, you guys are talking about how bad the screen game is and you just completed 2 in a row. Well, that brings up the point. If they're not auto sniffing the screens, the locomotion is absolutely, and I'm going to go ahead and unpause here, but the locomotion is absolutely terrible for turning up the field. That first example should have been a touchdown, but my guy stopped as he was turning up the field. And we've all experienced that. You go to throw a screen, you got one guy to block out there. If you do get a block on him, great. Let's say you do, but it still takes your guy 2 or 3 seconds to turn up field.
This is absolutely true. There's a couple points that we're going to make here. The first thing is when you catch it, it's going to be very tough to turn up the field. Second, depending on what you're doing, what type of style screen, you're going to see that these are non-play action screens. We're doing that to start off with. That is going to be your most successful screen in Madden 19, where they don't have to fake the handoff and basically go. This is the quickest type screen in the game. That's why we're starting off with this example. Other things that are going to be pinch points is under center screens. The way that they go back, if he's in a single back ace, the way that he goes back and tries to get a screen off is atrocious in the way that the rush gets there before he even has the opportunity to throw it. So there are different things, as you can see here, how when you went to a play action screen, it got sniffed out right away.
Not only that, but it's a jailbreak screen. I am literally sending as many blockers out there as possible against a heavy blitz.
Absolutely. And the thing that if you saw on that play, that player that made the tackle was the nickel quarterback that's supposed to be on an assignment to go after the quarterback. He stops mid-play, recovers as if he already knows. I'm going to go ahead and do a single back ace screen like I was talking about here. And just look at the difference between why it's not viable under center because of the way that he goes backwards. It's very, very difficult to get the play off because of the way. So see how he's here, now I'm trying to throw it, you're dead to rights.
And that's if I don't sniff it out. I mean, you still have no time even if your guy's wide open. Granted, it's a screenplay, but still, the chances of you getting the open running back is slim. Because somebody's going to sniff it out. And then if you do, you don't have time to throw it anyways because the blocking is so poor. And just the targeting in general is poor.
Absolutely. And that's one of those things that's really tough. So under center, really not something that, at least in existing Madden right now, that is something that you even have to worry about a screen on because of the way that works. Now, we're going to just do different types of screens. This one's actually going to be a tight end screen. And you're going to see here that these guys go outside and then come back in. That actually worked a little bit better. But I think it's because of the way that, again, it was not a play action screen. And it also was something that you saw the guys, if I'm going to do that same exact play again so you kind of see it a little bit better. The outside players went to him first, and then he went and basically went back to the quarterback. If I don't time this right, these guys sniff it out. I had to wait an extra second in order for those guys to come in. But look how those guys naturally go to the outside first, and where their angles are not supposed to be. See how they go outside first, and then they're right there. Now I have
And then
nowhere to go.
poor locomotion, so you're screwed.
Exactly. So it's something that, no matter what type of screen, there are different things that you can kind of point to each screen in the game that's going to be tough. I'm going to see if I can find a bubble screen here, which usually bubble screens are probably one of the better ones because you're attacking the outside. Let me see here if I can find one real quick here. But the thing with a bubble screen is that if it's a play action, it doesn't work as well. So here's a non-play action bubble screen. So this is going to be probably one of the better ones in the game when it comes to being able to get off. But again, they sniff it out pretty quickly. So here you go. I'm throwing it this time.
I mean,
All
look
you
at
did
that.
was,
I played simple hard flat coverage, and it's a pick.
absolutely. So the guys don't target their blocking well as well. If you saw hard flat there, the player is going after the DB that's backing up rather than the player that's going into the zone. So that's something that, definitely is kind of a tough thing to do. And we didn't even get into that. The first thing we were talking about is if you do nothing on defense, it auto sniffs. The simple things of putting somebody in a hard flat, manning up the player in which you think is going to be on a screen, will go ahead and easily break up a screen because of the auto targeting that you basically beat 3 players on it.
So I'm going to go ahead and run some slip screens here. I have about zero faith that somebody's not going to sniff this out. I mean, I don't think you were controlling that player that your user was on, but he sniffed it out. Not only that, but my lineman, if I could show you the replay, which I can't, my lineman cannot block that corner. It's a measly cornerback. It kind of goes into I'm going to pause again here. That goes into a rant that's another time for another topic. It'll definitely be something we talk about in this wish list series. But offensive linemen, when they get their hands on corners and safeties in this game, do not play like offensive linemen. I mean, these are guys that are big men, and they cannot hold up these little pissant corners in the screen game.
If you ask an offensive lineman, their favorite part of their job is a screen game to where they can go one-on-one with a cornerback. They make that into a highlight reel. They want to put that guy into the bench or put him into the ground. Oftentimes in here, it's a sidestep. It's a auto ability that they get their hands on them and then they get off really quickly because of their agility. But if a lineman gets on a cornerback, there's no reason why that cornerback isn't getting drawn into the mud. And it just doesn't happen in the screen game.
So right here, obviously, we're going slip screen to Gurley. I'm anticipating somebody's going to sniff it out. It's just the way the game plays. And look at that. I mean, it's just the guy that safety all over it. I mean, you've got 3 linemen peeling out in front on a zero blitz, a man zero blitz. And we can't get a body on the one guy responsible for the running back. To me, that is the perfect time from a football standpoint to call that blitz because it's like, okay, you've got who is that? Ricardo Allen out there against Todd Gurley. If you can call that zero blitz again, just whoever's responsible. We've got linemen that are not going to actually block this guy, and it doesn't make sense to me because it's like, okay, like not a single hat put on number 34 right there, Brian Poole.
Yeah. And 3 guys out in front, and the one guy they had a block, they basically sidestepped them and tried to go cover who. They block who. There was nobody over there. It was a man-to-man blitz, so basically the safeties went towards the right side of the screen, and basically, they missed their man. And I think that's something that just the targeting on blocking needs to be improved when it comes to the screen game as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. So, I mean, what have we named here? Just off the top of our heads, auto sniffing, regardless, pretty much irregardless. I'm not sure what the right word is there, but regardless of the actual awareness or play rec rating, somebody's pretty much going to sniff it out if they just have not a terrible awareness rating.
Yep.
Your locomotion.
The ability to go up the field once you catch it. Personally, the ability to throw the ball in the right positioning in order to catch the ball and go up the field. A lot of times you don't have that ability to lead anybody. They're just sitting there standard, flat-footed. So they're not catching the ball with any type of movement going up the field. We talked about, easy ways to basically shut down a screen, whether it's a hard flat or just manning up that player. If they don't auto sniff it, it's dead to rights in that regard. Also, under center, it's not going to work under center. Under
So
center. Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, what about the screen game works essentially is what we're talking about here in this. I mean, what does the screen game currently do well? Can you think of anything?
To be honest, nothing consistently. I feel like there's, if you are trying to attack what you're supposed to attack, whether it's being, letting them get over aggressive, let them send people up the middle, try to get players out in front of outside players, it doesn't do it for you. The targeting doesn't do it. I mean, you can have a screen once in a while have success, but it's really nothing that you can go ahead and look at that. The guy, what was my guy was supposed to go all the way out there to the end to the player to go to get the one player that could make the tackle, and he stopped. So it's just I'll show you that exact play. This is a double screen, and if you look at the outside cornerback, my bowling guard is supposed to go out there and basically pick up that player, and what you'll see here is that he just stopped, right? And he lets that guy. That time we were able to kind of hesitate a little bit,
But you know how much
but
extra you had to do right there? You had to take a terrible, you had to like run inside there to like even
mhm.
get your block set up. There's one, he's standing out there blocking no one. I mean, how often
Yep.
do we sit there and play this game and say, wow, that lineman did literally nothing on that play? I mean, it's in the run
Mhm.
game, it's in the pass game, it's in the screen game, it's all over the place.
Absolutely. Now, the play action screen, we talked about this a little bit. This one, because it's a slower developing screen, they definitely have the ability to sniff it out a lot better. The other ones that we're showing you that weren't play action, those were designed to get it out of your hand quickly, right? Now, this one, you have to wait for it. Now you're going to have to throw this play. And oh my goodness, you see that guy
Terrible
just,
locomotion, terrible blocking. It's all
yep.
bad.
Yeah, it just, it's taking an element out of the game that we really should have in it. And that's really the point that I think we're trying to make is that, in order to have a balanced Madden, being able to have a legitimate counter to blitzing seven meta, it would be a screen game. It's, hey, if you want to send everybody and you don't want to have your players, have their responsibility, integrity on the field, we're going to make you pay. And, we're not talking about a user sniffing out a screen. If someone does that, kudos to them that they're able to go through traffic. We're talking about linemen that are supposed to have the ability to rush the quarterback because that's what you're asking them to do, turn around and guard a wide receiver screen. It's just not something that we would like to see a little bit more balance when it comes to making the defense pay for bad calls.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all it comes down to. That's all that it comes down to ultimately. When you talk about staples of good offenses in any level of football, whether it be high school, college, the NFL, whatever you're talking about the ability to make the defense think twice about pinning their ears back and getting upfield. I mean, you see right here, this is the rarity right here. This type of screen where just everyone is going to, blitz and it doesn't get auto sniffed. This is what should happen if our opponent is, just recklessly sending six every single down. Now, why is that important? Think about the meta defenses that you have faced over the last year, whether it be this year's game or last year's game. Crossfire blitzing, sending how many? Six.
Mhm.
You're talking about double corner slot blitzes and dollar at the start of the year. You're
Mhm.
talking about Crossfire again this year. You're talking about 3-3-5 blitzing everyone with two cloud flats and a user in the middle of the field. You're talking about 5-2, quite literally sending seven in the screen game is not viable.
Yep. It's crazy. And the reason why that slip screen worked so well is I had the guys in soft squats, which basically made the guy turn on the outside receiver, and he essentially wasn't there. So basically they didn't have any help from the cornerback on that play. But you could see how much of a rarity that is. What do we do? 15, 20 screens in this video already. And we've had one that actually had success when it was supposed to have success based upon the calls that we're making. And that's just something that we want to see have a little bit more attention brought to it, and hopefully that when we look at Madden 20 and beyond, to get the balance where it is, just putting the fundamental results that you should be getting from doing that is what we're looking for.
I totally agree, and I'm glad that you brought up Madden 20 because EA actually made a note yesterday. Was their first tidbits of like news about the game, and there was an article floating around where they mentioned RPOs coming potentially into Madden 20. Well, that's excellent. I mean, obviously it's overdue with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl 2 years ago now. Or 2 seasons ago now with RPO, largely RPO scheme.
Hmm.
And I mean, one of your concerns has to be obviously, well, coverage right now isn't great against, basic route combinations. How are they going to deal a run pass option? But a lot of RPOs utilize screens,
Hmm.
screen calls. And again, you were able to not get an auto sniff on that, but
Hmm.
because the locomotion is so poor, you're not able to actually use that screen, and you
Hmm.
actually had the bodies out there. You actually blocked the corner for once, and it's
And
just
that's
something
the
that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to really fine tune that.
Absolutely, and that's one of the more frustrating ones when you see the green grass in front of you, but because your guy comes to a complete stop and you can't really lead the guy with forward momentum, you have to start from ground zero with your locomotion basically. So when that happens, that's really one of those tough parts. But here's another sniff out with the tight end. I mean, that the tight end one's supposed to be more of a sneaky one, basically with those guys pulling, but it's auto programmed, and it's not something that you can control all 11 players on the field by all means. So if you're asking, if you're in man coverage or if you're in some type of zone that's supposed to go in that area, by all means, sniffing that out would make sense. But when you're sending literally 7 players at me and they're able to stop their blitz to go do it and sniff it out, that's where the real concern happens. Like you're not even, looking to, that time, obviously these guys rally to the ball so quickly that it's just not viable. And that's really what the whole point of this whole video is.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and pause here as we're trying to round this video out. Obviously, what we're talking about right here is going into 20. The things that we personally want to see: locomotion on the screens first and foremost. That you got to be able to turn up field. The quick passing game is a great way to combat the blitz. The screen game is part of the quick passing umbrella. You need to be able to have the timing, the spacing, the blocking needs to be better. Obviously, the auto sniffs are a bad thing. Now, I could definitely see that being a topic. Auto sniffs. I personally would put it. If somebody says, "Well, what if you don't have a lineman? You're just going to get screened all game if you don't have a high awareness alignment." If they're going to leave coaching settings in the game, I think it's great that you could maybe put your rush on conservative, which basically says, hey, if you're not blocked, look for a screen. I mean, that was
Mhm.
the logic correct me if I'm wrong, that is the logic that Quinn Oldenburg used for the nano detection system. When the nano detection
Yep.
system allows a D tackle unblocked, he realizes, oh, hey, you're taught in football, if you're unblocked, there's a reason for it. Look for the
Mhm.
screen, look for the trap. So that was his rationale for the NDS. So I think you can
Mhm.
flip that rationale on its head and say, okay, quit auto sniffing, quit auto IDing like we talked about last year, quit auto everything, and then make us make decisions what we want to give up. If I want to play aggressive rush, screen game should be OP against that. If I want to play conservative rush, then all of a sudden, obviously, you're going to be able to have downfield attack. You got to find that balance and not just have it so much be automatically done for us.
Absolutely. And I think, especially in the highest levels of Madden, when it comes to if you're playing all Madden, most likely you're in a competitive CFM or you're in the MCS or, a mode that you're trying to compete in. These are the things that when we're looking for skill gaps about trying to find different ways to put the control back in the user, the actual player to be better at Madden, these are things that they can add this little element to it that puts a whole different aspect. When the auto sniffing happens, it's not because you made a good call on defense or you have to be able to really allow for a player to make adjustments to make themselves a better player. And I think that's something that we're going to be talking about in the series as we go through it, of just little things that these adjustments for the next game is just an overall better product that we're looking for.
Absolutely. That's all it comes down to is game balance. Again, guys, the whole point of this series is to make sure that we're giving constructive feedback. We welcome it in the chat. Again, guys, this is only episode 2. we highly encourage you guys, if there's things that you want us to talk about in your wish list, let us know in the chat. We'll definitely take ideas for topics. We have a number of topics we're going to touch on between now and when Madden 20 drops. Just thought it was a really good opportunity for us to work on our second episode of this with the first news of Madden 20 coming out. I saw the RPO and I was like, okay, well, screen game has to be completely fleshed out in order for this to work. I'm going to go ahead and drop this video off. Again, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel for more tips, tricks, Madden news coming on the way as we head into the summer. We'll be back at you next week with our next Madden 20 wish list. For AntCat, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck. If you like this video, check out one of the videos on your screen right now. And for more in-depth analysis, visit www.playbook.gg for detailed game plans written by pro Madden players. Master the game with playbook.gg.